George Walker Bush was born on July 6, 1946, in New Haven, Connecticut. His father, George H.W. Bush, would later become the 41st President of the United States. His mother, Barbara Pierce Bush, was a strong and influential figure in his life. George W. grew up with 4 siblings: Jeb, Neil, Marvin, and Dorothy. The Bush family had deep roots in American politics and public service. George W. spent his early years in Texas. He was known for his mischievous spirit and love of baseball. He attended the prestigious Phillips Academy in Andover, Massachusetts, following in his father's footsteps. At Andover, George W. excelled in athletics and developed a close-knit group of friends. These early experiences shaped his values and worldview. He learned the importance of family, hard work, and loyalty. He also developed a strong belief in American exceptionalism and the power of leadership. After graduating from Andover, George W. Bush attended Yale University, just like his father and grandfather before him. He studied history and became interested in politics. At Yale, he was known for his outgoing personality and his involvement in campus social life. He joined the Delta Kappa Epsilon fraternity and was elected president of his senior class. Following his graduation from Yale in 1968, George W. Bush enlisted in the Texas Air National Guard. He served as a pilot during the Vietnam War era. After completing his service, he returned to Texas and earned an MBA from Harvard Business School in 1975. He then entered the oil and gas industry, working in Midland, Texas. It was during this time that Bush met his future wife, Laura Welch, a librarian. They were married in 1977 and had twin daughters, Jenna and Barbara, in 1981. Bush's life took on greater purpose and stability with Laura by his side. He also became a devout Christian, which would profoundly impact his life and political career. In 1994, George W. Bush successfully ran for governor of Texas. He campaigned on a platform of compassion, education reform, and limited government. As governor, he worked across party lines to pass legislation and gained a reputation as a pragmatic and effective leader. These experiences prepared him for the national stage. In 2000, George W. Bush ran for President of the United States against Democratic nominee Al Gore. The election was one of the closest and most controversial in American history. After a lengthy recount process and a Supreme Court decision, Bush was declared the winner. He took office on January 20, 2001. His presidency would be forever marked by the events of September 11, 2001. The terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon shook the nation to its core. In the aftermath of 9/11, Bush launched the War on Terror, sending troops to Afghanistan and Iraq. He also signed the Patriot Act into law, expanding the government's surveillance powers in the name of national security. The Bush presidency was a time of great consequence and change. In response to the 9/11 attacks, Bush launched the War on Terror, sending troops to Afghanistan and Iraq. He also signed into law the Patriot Act, which expanded the government's surveillance powers in the name of national security. Domestically, Bush signed into law significant tax cuts, education reforms, and the Medicare prescription drug benefit. He also appointed 2 conservative justices to the Supreme Court, John Roberts and Samuel Alito. Bush's presidency was marked by both accomplishments and controversies. He was praised for his leadership in the aftermath of 9/11, but criticized for his handling of the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. His decision to invade Iraq in 2003, based on the belief that Saddam Hussein's regime possessed weapons of mass destruction, proved highly controversial. The war in Iraq became increasingly unpopular, and the failure to find WMDs led to accusations that the Bush administration had misled the public. After leaving office in 2009, George W. Bush returned to Texas with his wife, Laura. He established the George W. Bush Presidential Center in Dallas, which houses his presidential library and museum, and the George W. Bush Institute, a nonpartisan policy think tank. In his post-presidency, Bush has largely stayed out of the political fray. He is focused on his work at the Bush Center, his painting hobby, and spending time with his family. He has also developed unlikely friendships with former political rivals, such as Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. George W. Bush's presidency remains a subject of debate and discussion. His supporters view him as a strong and decisive leader who kept America safe during a time of great peril. His critics argue that his presidency was marked by costly mistakes, particularly the Iraq War. Only time will tell how history will ultimately judge the 43rd President of the United States.